Now that Fairy Tail is over, I can make a Why Love episode on a more mainstream character. So now I just need to decide on who. Do I pick arguably my favorite anime character of all time, Jalal? How about Pick Slow or Free? Or better yet, I could talk about Loxus or Mira Jane. Or I could make no sense whatsoever and talk about my third favorite Dragon Slayer. Okay, maybe Cobra makes a good case for second favorite over top of Gajeel. This is the story of a sad, traumatized, and lonely boy and his journey to finally finding the family he always dreamed of. This is Cobra the Poison Dragon Slayer.
You're fighting the Poison Dragon now. It's over for you.
Am I seeing things?
No, I see it too. This guy's a Dragon Slayer!
There was once an evil structure named the Tower of Heaven. It was under construction to revive Zeref, and his followers kidnapped countless people to slave away to complete this horrible project. In that band of slaves, there was a small group of kids destined for importance. People like Urza, Jalal, Simon, Macbeth, and of course, Erik. While trapped in the tower, the children all prayed for what they wanted most in life. Urza prayed to escape, Jalal wished for revenge, but the soon-to-be Irration Seis had the most important prayers. Macbeth simply prayed to sleep quietly in a world that's filled with nightmares. Sawyer wanted to be so fast that he could never be caught again, and Erik only wished to hear the voice of his only friend, Kubelios, a small purple snake. One day a revolt took place within the tower. Urza was lucky enough to escape, but she left everyone else behind. Driven mad by what he thought was Zeref, Jalal continued to build the Tower of Heaven as its new ruler. Eventually, another group of children escaped. Macbeth, Sawyer, Sorano, Richard, and Erik. Led by a man named Brain, he promised to grant their wishes, but he wasn't exactly truthful. Macbeth gave others nightmare to absorb power, Sawyer slowed others down, and Erik could now hear everything around him, including people's thoughts, but his snake remained silent. Wanting to be even closer to Kubelios, Erik took on the name Cobra and implanted a poison dragon slayer Lacrima in himself to gain incredible power. Believing that Brain freed him from his chains, Cobra joins his dark guild, even if deep down he doesn't want to be evil. After years of pushing down his trauma and trying to be useful to the Irration Seis, it's time for them to make their big move. It's time to capture Nirvana. With this machine, they can take any light that's dancing on the line of darkness and switch them to the Irration Seis' side. But it also works the other way around, and the first member of the Seis to crack is Richard. At heart, these are all still kids in pain, no matter how old they seem to have gotten, and no matter how much power they hold.
Got a gift for the two of you. Poison Dragon!
A gift, huh?
Oh, thank you!
To protect Nirvana, Cobra fights Natsu. Natsu has fought a second-generation Slayer before, but Cobra is different. On top of having the poison dragon Lacrima, Erik still has the magic to hear pretty much anything, and he can easily dodge everything Natsu throws at him. Luckily, because he's the protagonist, Natsu is able to start landing some hits on Cobra and decides to scream in his ear, bursting his eardrum and ending the fight. Doranbolt arrives to arrest the Seis, but of course, that won't last too long. 7 years later, the Seis re-emerge with Jackpot and a shell of a man who used to be Aragorn. They're here to capture the Infinity Clock, and the remaining members have made sacrifices for more power. Angel can sacrifice her own life energy to summon monsters, Racer lost some of his humanity for real speed instead of just his slow spell, and Cobra lost an eye for stronger magic and the ability to amplify sound and reflect it so that Natsu couldn't beat him again. After all these years, Cobra has lost Kubelios, and with no friends remaining, he doesn't really see a reason to live on.
To him,
Yes, he's my friend.
ever since I lost Kubelios, I'm all alone. I have no friends.
Little does he know, Kubelios is now somehow human and a Fairy Tail member. Once realizing this, Cobra hands himself into, well, not Doranbolt this time, because he's been a depressed alcoholic for the past 7 years. But he tells them that he doesn't know the girl and she had nothing to do with the attack, she was just wandering around. Okay, I swear we only have one prison break left. The real Irration Seis with Brain and Richard instead of Jackpot and Aragorn break out of prison during the Tartaros arc, but are confronted with the broken remains of Crime Sorcière. Jalal wishes to recruit them so that they can repay the world for all the crimes they've committed and walk the path of atonement with him and Melody. Understandably, the Sace attack him, not believing the man who once held them prisoner to be a trustworthy partner. Cobra and Racer think that they can take him on their own, but unsurprisingly, when you fight one of the strongest Wizard Saints, it doesn't exactly go so well. Jalal uses Meteor to defeat those two before temporarily blinding himself to break Midnight's nightmare. And what do you do when you're blind fighting a 1v5? You drop a massive meteor on your opponent and destroy an entire mountain, obviously. Because everyone in anime has skin tougher than the Earth's core, the Irration Sace survive and walk with Jalal probably because they're terrified he'll do it again. But, like a bunch of spoiled teenagers, they just pout and complain the entire time. That is, until Erik hears Jalal telling Melody the truth of all that's happened and he finally decides to believe Jalal. That was just in time too, as Rusty Rose is attacking Melody while Jalal is powerless to help, because it's not like he can just drop a meteor on him or anything. Cobra and the others defeat the Silver King of my heart, the Silver King of the Underworld, and join Crime Sorcier to finally try and find happiness in this world.
You came. Nothing personal, we just couldn't think of anything better to do.
So for now at least, we've decided to tag along with you two. See how we like it. To free the...
Moving to the most recent and final arc, a war has broken out between the Alvarez Empire, Fiore, and Acnologia. It's time for literally every wizard on the continent except for Rusty Rose to fight for their home. And yes, I'm still salty that Rusty Rose wasn't ever shown in this arc. Alvarez has an elite group of wizards called the Spriggan 12 so strong that the #1 wizard saint has abandoned Ishgar to join them. Crime Sorcier fell to their strongest member, August, a child born from 2 eternal beings. He can copy and reflect any non-holder type magic, and since Crime Sorcier doesn't have prosthetic arms or a deck of cards lying around anywhere, they're easily outmatched. August can hear Cobra's movements before he makes them, outrun Racer, and reflect Midnight's tornado. Unable to take down the strongest Spriggan, Crime Sorcier rests up until it's time to battle Acnologia, the world's strongest Dragon Slayer. The 7 remaining Dragon Slayers team up to battle the Dragon King, but with God, Serena, and Irene dead, they don't exactly have the strongest possible members. But it's time for the main cast of Slayers to step up.
Shadow Dragon! Poison Dragon! Roar!
No matter how many times they throw themselves at Acnologia, nothing seems to hurt him. But no matter what, Cobra needs to beat him because he knows he has friends out there fighting with everything they have to keep Fiore safe, and he can't just let them down. After spending his entire life alone and believing no one could ever love him, Erik, the little boy who was forced to slave away for the devil, finally opens his heart to the friends he never knew he really had.
Hang in there.
Don't worry. I can't let myself kick the bucket quite yet. Not just for my sake. It's because I've got friends of my own too. And I know they're fighting their hearts out down there. I'll do whatever the hell I gotta to keep them safe!
After the battle and finally ending Acnologia's suffering, Cobra is hugged by his friends and finally decides to live the life he's always wanted. When the king steps down, the new Queen Hisui gives a full pardon to Crime Sorcier for all of their past crimes, allowing Cobra and the others to live freely and continue their good deeds. Seeing a bright future ahead of him, Erik starts dating Kiana, the woman who was once Cobelios. Let's ignore how weird that is.
What? Like actually in reality? You have a boyfriend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a guy named Erik. He's way more free these days, so we can spend time together.
After all he's been through, I think this is the best happy ending Erik could have received. From a tortured young boy to becoming a dark mage to forget his past to finally being a happy, committed man who just wants to do good in the world. That's why I love Cobra. Thanks for watching. Check your screen for the Why I Love playlist and a video YouTube seems to think you'll dork out over. Or check the description for anything else you need. Well, peace weaves.